I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. Isaiah chapter 9. Isaiah speaks messianically. The people in darkness shall see a great light. Unto us a child is born. He shall be the Prince of Peace and reign on David's throne. Compare 2 Nephi chapter 19. Okay, before we continue, just want to, this is a continuation of chapter 8. Chapter 7 was kind of a historical account of what's going on at this time, and now we're getting Isaiah's actual prophecies during the reign of Ahaz. And so this is a continuation. 9 and 8 and then 9, this is a single prophecy. I believe we're going to get several chapters that are really just a single prophecy. I also want to mention that this video does have a Joseph Smith translation in it. What the Joseph Smith translation is, this is an inspired translation or correction of the Bible done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that had been lost over the years. So, here we go. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterwards did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan in Galilee of the nations. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. Thou hast multiplied the nation, and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. For thou hast broken the yoke of his burden, and the staff of his shoulder, and the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. But unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end upon the throne of David, and upon his kingdom to order it, and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. We have, first of all, the afflicting the land of Zebulun and Naphtali. This is talking about the invasion of Tiglath-Pileser in the days of Pekah, and how he conquered a lot of the northern parts of Israel, the land that was given to the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali. Then it has, and more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan. That is the final invasion, in the footnotes here, of Sargon II, when the northern kingdom is completely destroyed and ceases to exist. So, in the days of Ahaz, Tiglath-Pileser's invasion has already occurred. That happened during Jotham's reign, most likely. And could have been during the early part of Ahaz's reign, but most likely was during Jotham's reign. And so we have this dimness, this darkness, will not be the same as it was in that invasion, where many people were taken captive, but that was not total, that was not complete. But it will be, and it even appears that he's prophesying it's not even going to be like it was when the northern kingdom is completely destroyed. It's going to be this dimness and this darkness is going to be even more complete. I don't know. That's just what it kind of seems to me. But then we have darkness of seeing a great light, and that, of course, is the coming of Christ. The first coming of Christ brought light into the world at that time, especially to the Jews, and his second coming is the light that will light all the world. And so in verse 4, broken the yoke of his burden as in the days of Midian. Remember, Midian did oppress Israel. I believe it was under Gideon that Midian was eventually driven out. But in verse 5, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. This is what Christ's second coming and the purging of the earth in fire. The baptism of the earth by fire. All of this is it is both a description of the apostasy of Israel and the first gathering just before Christ's first coming. But it is also the great apostasy and the second gathering that will happen just before his second coming. Let us continue with this. We go to verse 8. The Lord sent a word unto Jacob, and it hath lighted upon Israel. And all the people shall know, even Ephraim and the inhabitants of Samaria, that say in the pride of and stoutness of heart, the bricks are fallen down, but we will build with hewn stones. The sycamores are cut down, but we will change them into cedars. Therefore the Lord shall set up the adversaries of reason against him, and join his enemies together, the Syrians before and the Philistines behind, and they shall devour Israel with open mouth. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. So we have in verse 8 there, word into Jacob, sent his word into Jacob and lighted on Israel. So this is a prophecy specifically for the northern kingdom of Israel, the 10 tribes. And this is saying, don't think you're all that good. I know the idea is, even though we are damaged, people are saying, yes, we've been hit, our kingdom's been destroyed, but we can rebuild. And he's saying, nope, you're going to be destroyed. There is no rebuilding after this. Now, the Syrians before and the Philistines behind, or Syrians in the east, Philistines in the west, they are surrounded by their enemies, and they will be destroyed. Verse 13. For the people turneth not unto him that smiteth them. Verse 13. For the people turneth not unto him that smiteth them, neither do they seek the Lord of hosts. Therefore the Lord will cut off from Israel head and tail, branch and rush in one day. The ancient and honorable, he is the head, and the prophet that teacheth lies, he is the tail. For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Therefore the Lord shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall have mercy on their fatherless and widows. For every one is an hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. For wickedness burneth as the fire, it shall devour the briars and thorns, and shall kindle in the thickets of the forest, and they shall mount up like the lifting up of smoke. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother, and he shall snatch on the right hand, and be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. Manasseh, Ephraim, and Ephraim, Manasseh, and they together shall be against Judah. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. So this is just a nice description of the destruction coming upon the people. Cut off head and tail. The head is the leaders, the officers, the men of rank, the elders. And the tail are your false prophets and religious leaders. So we have the governmental leaders and the religious leaders who will be destroyed in one day because the people are too wicked. And so they're going to be taken away. They're going to be carried away captive. Excuse me. Fairly standard prophecy about the northern kingdom. Read many that basically say the same thing. So now let us look at the Joseph Smith translation again. Not too much here again. In verse 1 there is, and I did a whole video about this, so you can look that up. And afterwards did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan. That is the King James. Joseph Smith corrects this. And it says, and afterwards did more grievously afflict her by the way of the Red Sea beyond Jordan. And simply put, the difference is that the by way of the sea would mean the coastal road going along the Mediterranean, while the way of the Red Sea is the King's Highway that would travel kind of down along the Jordan River until it reaches the Red Sea and then cut west to Egypt. And the Assyrians, when they invaded, came down the King's Highway to invade Israel. And so by stating by way of the Red Sea, it makes it more historically accurate. Verse 3 in the King James, thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. In the Joseph Smith translation, thou hast multiplied the nation and increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy in harvest. So he removed the word not. So in prosperity they had joy. And he makes that correct. It actually does make a little bit more sense to remove that. But now, verse 7. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end upon the throne of David. Joseph Smith's correction there. Of the increase of his government and peace, there is no end upon the throne of David. And I like that. Christ, there's no end of Christ's kingdom. And it's not that it will be his kingdom. It is his kingdom. It always has been. So put it into the present tense. I like that. Verse 8 states, the Lord sent a word into Jacob, and it hath lighted upon Israel. Joseph Smith correction, the Lord sent his word unto Jacob, and it hath lighted upon Israel. Not a significant change in meaning, but it does give us, it makes it a little easier. Anyways, verse 9, and all the people shall know, even Ephraim and the inhabitants of Samaria, that say in the pride and stoutness of heart. Joseph Smith makes an addition here, that say in the pride and in the stoutness of heart. So, again, not a significant change in meaning. Now right here in verse 17, this is our last one. It says, about halfway through, for everyone is an hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaketh folly. Joseph Smith corrects this. For every one of them, an hypocrite and an evildoer. So, specifying that this is still talking, it's not talking about all the world. It's talking about the northern kingdom of Israel. And that's not a huge difference in meaning, but a slight clarification. So, there's the Joseph Smith translation, and I think that's enough. We'll leave it here and talk to you next time.